former local firefighter disciplined after failing an alcohol screening and admitting to being intoxicated on the job. That firefighter, the chief's own son. Sources within the department tell the News 4 Tucson investigators the punishment was just a slap on the wrist and suggest the chief could have interfered with the investigation despite recusing himself. Of course, Nylander spent months looking for answers and fighting for access to records the department might not want you to see.
For 6 months, the News 4 Tucson investigators have been looking into the Golder Ranch Fire District after the chief's own son failed an alcohol test and may have worked under the influence multiple times. When you need an ambulance, you want to know the person behind the wheel is not under the influence of anything that'll affect their judgment. Aaron Carr was a firefighter and EMT here at the Golder Ranch Fire District, sometimes tasked with driving ambulances. The News 4 Tucson investigators learned Aaron failed an alcohol screening in May last year, which led to an internal investigation. Overseeing such an investigation would typically be the fire chief, Randy Carr, Aaron's father. Chief Carr says he recused himself from any involvement in the investigation and put his 2 assistant chiefs in charge of investigating and discipline, but 2 sources working within the department tell us things didn't work out quite that way. The News 4 Tucson investigators reviewed piles of documents detailing the investigation. Large portions were blacked out, claiming to be private medical information. The News 4 Tucson investigators reviewed transcripts of an interview with Aaron from July. He admitted to one of the assistant chiefs investigating that he probably drove an ambulance while intoxicated on occasion. In a follow-up interview with the other assistant chief a few days later, his story changed that he didn't drive an ambulance drunk. When the interviewer called out the discrepancy, Aaron changed back to his original story. Documented in his intent to discipline, which was never contested by Aaron, the assistant chief who handed down the discipline found Aaron consumed alcohol between 2 stations while working a 48-hour shift, consumed alcohol on multiple occasions before the end of his shift, that in May, before taking his first alcohol test before entry into paramedic school, came to work intoxicated and worked. Through his own admission, he was drinking heavily every off day and on multiple occasions would drink at 2 a.m. before reporting to work, had alcohol in his vehicle or assigned station during work hours. The assistant chief also found that Aaron was dishonest to investigators, which is against district policy. Aaron was suspended for 30 days without pay and placed on a last chance agreement, which according to the documents required a random test once a month for the next 12 months. Our sources within the department feel the punishment was soft-served due to his relationship with the chief. In a February interview with the News 4 Tucson investigators, Chief Carr denied that.
I'm very confident with the district policies and procedures and we followed them, and I believe that I'm equally as confident that each employee situation here was really handled appropriately, without bias, and consistent with past practice. So I can't get into the details of his discipline.
He repeated that prepared statement multiple times during questioning.
At any point throughout this investigation, did you ever communicate with the chiefs that you put in charge of this investigation to at all suggest giving a different punishment than what they felt necessary?
Oh, absolutely not, no.
I asked the chief if his son had any issues after being placed on the last chance agreement.
Is your son back on
Yes,
the
sir.
job? Is he back to work?
Yes, sir.
And no issues since?
None.
But our sources in the department claim his son failed another alcohol screening in December before the chief's February interview, then allowed to take a second test hours later, which they say he passed. The department at first would not give us any records about his test results or testing schedule, claiming it's protected personal medical information. But after we got our attorney involved, they provided records showing HR working out random testing dates with a third-party vendor. One of the dates was December 20th. They redacted any mention of results, but in a document for a record of testing invoices in December, they said the first test was part of a 12-month umbrella deal and that a second test was done by Tucson ER and Hospital, appearing to confirm 2 tests happened in December. We requested an interview with the Fire District's Board of Directors about why a third party wasn't brought in to investigate.
We declined the request.
Our requests became an agenda item during the board's April 12th meeting. During an executive session with the chief and legal counsel, the board prepared a statement expressing support for the chief.
Chief Carr and his command staff have the full support of the Golder Ranch Fire District Board. The Golder Ranch Fire District Board members will not engage in any interview or discussion of Golder Ranch Fire District personnel.
The chief shortly after sent us a strongly worded email accusing us of harassing employees. In it, he revealed that department policies have been changed, saying future cases involving relatives of a supervisor will be reviewed for investigation by a third party. Our sources then told us that Aaron failed another alcohol test in March and was allowed to resign, which means he could perhaps find work at another department without further discipline on his record. In the documents we reviewed, the HR manager stated a failed test would result in termination. One of Aaron's supervisors recommended March 25th or 29th as the best possible date for Aaron's March test. We received no record of results. Aaron's handwritten resignation letter was dated March 30th. The department is still blocking access to any information regarding alcohol test results, citing a state statute. But our attorney disagrees with their assessment and believes we should have access to the records. We requested an interview with Aaron Carr and didn't hear back. We also requested an interview with the two assistant chiefs who handled the investigation. Chief Carr would not let us speak with them. We asked what written policy prevents them from speaking with us. He said it's department practice, not a written policy. Investigating for you, Cora Snylander, News 4 Tucson.